Fort Smith getting closer now to choosing its next city administrator. The person chosen will run the city's day-to-day operations, while Fort Smith continues to debate whether to keep that form of government. Tonight, the two finalists met with residents ahead of tomorrow's interviews. 5 News reporter Taylor Howard tells us what the two had to say.
This is a huge decision for the city of Fort Smith.
Fort Smith has operated under a city administrator form of government since the 60s. The board of directors makes the policy decisions, while the city administrator is responsible for running the day-to-day operations and carrying out those decisions. One finalist is already doing that job. The other would come to Fort Smith after serving as the administrator for Whitfield County, Georgia. Now, the board has to decide who would be a better fit.
The city of Fort Smith is facing infrastructure problems, and we've got to figure out a way to plan for our water improvements.
Acting City Administrator Jeff Dingman says getting those projects done starts with bringing the board members together.
Part of the challenge for this position will be building a consensus among those elected officials to start working in the same direction, but also just a clear message to the community that our elected officials are working together for the betterment of the community.
Dingman says he supports letting voters decide whether to change Fort Smith's government to a mayoral-led system. But he says he believes professional city managers are best suited to help carry out the board's policies.
But overall, the change itself, I'm not in favor of. Of course, I'm a professional city manager.
Robert Sivick says the debate over the form of government needs to be resolved. He says once voters decide, the city needs to move forward.
At least for the foreseeable future, that decision has to be respected.
He says the next city administrator should focus on planning for Fort Smith's future.
I would assume Fort Smith wants to continue to grow because in local government you're either growing or you're denying, and you need to look at that from a variety of standpoints. From economic development, money makes things happen, so it is important. Government and communities don't run on rainbows and sunshine.
Board members will interview Robert Sivick Thursday. Jeff Dingman won't be interviewed since he's serving as acting city administrator and based on the board's ongoing evaluation of his performance. In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Taylor Howard, 5 News.
The board is expected to discuss the position in executive session after Tuesday night's regular board meeting next week. We learned today that one of the longest-serving city directors in Fort Smith will not seek re-election this November. Kevin Settle says he will be leaving his at-large position 6th seat after his term ends. Settle has been on the board for the past 20 years and says in a statement he's proud to have served alongside 3 mayors and 21 fellow city directors. He cited family reasons for the decision and asks for privacy regarding this matter. Meanwhile, in Madison County, Sheriff Ronnie Boyd announcing he's resigning from his position effective next Thursday. In a letter to the county quorum court, Boyd says he's leaving because he thought his presence would, quote, impede the progress at the sheriff's office. He faced public backlash over his department's handling over a homicide investigation. Prosecutors said the victim of the case was potentially the subject of a 911 call, but the deputy on call did not respond. Boyd was also running for re-election, but lost in the Republican March primary. Chuck Melton will likely become the new sheriff after the November election. The family of the woman who died in custody of Washington County deputies is working to make sure proper care happened. Arkansas State Police yesterday said Jordan Furchow showed signs of possible drug ingestion and was pronounced dead after being taken to the hospital. Well, her family says they want a full timeline of what happened and whether proper procedures were followed. Her mother says the family was told she died at the jail, while state police's public statement says she was pronounced dead at the hospital.
I hope they didn't neglect my daughter. I hope that they did what was right. That is what I am hoping. So I'm not saying all bad them, and I'd like to think they did the right thing.
Furchow's mother says she was a mother herself and struggled with addiction. Washington County Sheriff's Office says it cannot comment while state police investigates. All new tonight at 10, arguments underway now in Washington County for a trial that centers around blocking Arkansas ballot petition laws. Federal judge is weighing whether the rules should be blocked permanently. 2 of the major laws in question require canvassers to request photo ID from a person signing a petition and reading aloud a warning that petition fraud is a criminal offense. Federal judge ruled to temporarily block the laws this month, saying they violated the First Amendment. 3 state voting advocate groups are suing to permanently ban those laws. Testimony began yesterday. We'll, of course, keep you updated when a final decision has been made. Arkansas State Police say roads are safer in this last year. State Police reporting fewer traffic-related deaths from this time in 2025, 47 fewer through the first 7 months of this year, to be exact. State Police credit a mix of increased enforcement and public education for that drop. Colonel Mike Hager says the goal is not to write more tickets, it's getting drivers to slow down.
People are always interested to learn that we typically, by far, write more warnings than we do citations. So this is not about generating activity, generating citations.
Hager says following too closely is the most common cause of crashes, with speed being the biggest factor. His advice, simple: buckle up, slow down, never drive impaired, and put down that phone. UA Fort Smith mourning the loss of one of their longtime professors and administrators. Dr. Sandy Sanders worked in multiple roles over 3 decades with the school. She served as the provost, senior vice chancellor, chief of staff, and then interim chancellor. School says Sanders played a big role in the transition from West Ark College to UA Fort Smith. She was also the first director of the Marshall's Museum. She was the wife of former Mayor Sandy Sanders. For the first time, we're hearing from Fort Smith Police Officer Kyle Newman as he was honored today by Congressman Steve Womack for his service, his courage, and his sacrifice. Newman was shot and injured during a DWI stop in May near McClure Amphitheater in South Fort Smith. It was an emotional ceremony at the police department today, surrounded by family and fellow officers. The department called him a hero, reminding Newman that he'll always have a place within the department. After accepting the award, Newman took the podium for a very special thank you.
Thank all the police officers, the EMS personnel, and hospital staff that saved my life that night. It's an honor and a privilege to serve with each and every one of you. Thank you all for being here today. It truly means the most to my family.
Now you can still hear how his voice is impacted by that injury. Told us while recovery is still ongoing, he is ready to get back on the job as soon as he can.